Toxic cooking. Is your cookware helping you or hurting you? What if one of the greatest threats to your health isn't what's on your plate, but what you're cooking it in? Most people believe they're eating healthy because they've changed what they eat. Today, you'll learn why what you cook it in may be just as important. I'll show you how to identify the cookware that deserves replacing, what to replace it with, and how to create a naturally non-stick cooking surface that can last a lifetime. Stay with me. You may never look at your cookware the same way again. Welcome to the channel where mature adults, especially baby boomers, learn to be better prepared for the unexpected and to live happier, healthier, stronger, and perhaps even longer. In our last conversation, we looked at one of the hidden dangers in many kitchens, microplastics, and the chemicals that can leach from those plastic containers into the foods we eat. If you haven't watched that video yet, I encourage you to do so, because today's conversation builds directly on that foundation. Many people have already taken an important first step by replacing plastic storage containers with glass or other safer alternatives. If you've done that, congratulations! You've already begun reducing one source of unnecessary chemical exposure. Today, we're going one step farther. Imagine spending extra money on fresh vegetables, high-quality protein, and nutritious ingredients, carefully storing them in glass containers, only to transfer that healthy meal into cookware that may release unwanted chemicals every time it's heated. The cooking surface itself becomes another ingredient in your meal, one you've never intended to include. Take a look at this pan. At first, when it was new, it wasn't dangerous at all, and it was appearing perfectly clean. Notice it now. The surface is scratched. And if it's even just repeatedly heated to very high temperatures, it can still become something entirely different from what it was designed to be. This isn't about creating fear. It's about creating awareness. One of the principles I teach is that every healthy decision reduces the unnecessary burdens we place on our bodies. We know we can't eliminate every environmental toxin, yet we can make wiser choices where we have control. And as always, we're not helpless victims. There's a lot that we do have control over. Today's conversation is about just one of those choices. By the end of our time together, you'll know how to create safer cooking environments, why so many health-conscious families are returning to traditional cookware, and how to transform a good old-fashioned, inexpensive cast iron skillet into a naturally non-stick cooking surface that could easily outlast every modern non-stick pan you'll ever own. Some of you may remember the heavy black iron skillet your mother or perhaps your grandmother or you yourself used decades ago. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't advertised as the latest kitchen innovation, yet chances are it prepared some of the finest meals your family ever enjoyed. There was wisdom in those kitchens. And today, we're going to rediscover it, and I will show you how it's done. One of the questions I hear most is, what's wrong with nonstick cookware now? I've used it for years. The answer depends on three things: its condition, how hot it gets, and how often you use it. Here's a little known fact. Many people assume that if a pan still looks good, it's performing exactly as it did when it was new, and that's not always true. Every time a nonstick pan is heated, cooled, scrubbed, or scratched with metal utensils, its surface experiences microscopic wear. Most of that damage is invisible to the naked eye. And here's another little known fact. Many non-stick coatings perform well at normal cooking temperatures, and even manufacturers themselves generally recommend avoiding excessive heat. Repeated overheating can shorten the life of the coating, which is one reason many manufacturers advise cooking over low to medium heat and replacing damaged cookware. Your food is on a cooking surface that becomes part of the cooking environment. If that surface is stable, everything is fine. If it's deteriorating, tiny particles or degraded coating materials may become part of that environment as well. That's one reason the condition of your cookware deserves as much attention as the quality of your ingredients. Once again, it's not about becoming fearful. It's all about becoming informed. And that's exactly why I used to inspect my cookware regularly. If a pan was scratched, like the ones that you see here, chipped, peeling, or had simply reached the end of its useful life, I didn't take any chances. I replaced it. Now I avoid all that extra time, money, and energy and use the safe options altogether. Fortunately, protecting yourself doesn't require replacing your entire kitchen. Replacing at least one pan can be an excellent first step. Alrighty, so let's look at cookware that has stood the test of time. Glass. For many types of cooking and baking, stainless steel, and especially the same cast iron skillet you used yourself or your mom or grandmother may have used decades ago. The healthier choices. Now we move from problems to solutions. If you've followed this channel for any length of time, you know I don't believe in leaving you without some suggestions and solutions. I believe in giving you practical solutions you can begin using today. The good news is that creating a healthier kitchen doesn't require replacing every pot and pan you own. In fact, as I mentioned before, replacing at least one pan can begin changing the way you prepare every meal. We begin with one of the safest cooking materials available. Not class. Well, it could be classy, but it's glass. And I'm going to leave that blooper right there. Glass has been used in kitchens for generations, and for good reason. It doesn't have a synthetic coating. It doesn't react with acidic foods like tomatoes, vinegar, or citrus. It doesn't absorb flavors or odors. Glass is perfect for soups, stews, casseroles, baking, and slow cooking. Here's a little-known scientific fact. Glass is one of the most chemically stable materials used in both kitchens and scientific laboratories. Scientists use it because it contributes very little to the substances they're studying. While your kitchen isn't a laboratory, the same principle applies, and some may say that it is a laboratory. Glass provides one of the most inert cooking surfaces available, so it's a good choice. Stainless steel. Another excellent choice is food-grade stainless steel. When shopping, look for cookware that has an 80/10 or 18/8 stainless steel cooking surface. Those numbers refer to the chromium and nickel in the alloy. Chromium helps resist rust and corrosion, while nickel improves durability and gives the cooking surface a smooth finish. Also, look for tri-ply, 5-ply, or multi-ply construction. This means layers of stainless steel are bonded to highly conductive metals, such as aluminum or copper. The result is more even heating, fewer hot spots, and better cooking performance. So, obviously, not all stainless steel is equal. Here's another little-known fact. Many inexpensive stainless steel pans have very thin cooking surfaces. They heat unevenly, cause food to stick and burn more easily. Now, people often blame stainless steel when the real problem is the quality of the cookware. Quality stainless steel can last for decades when it's cared for properly. My favorite is cast iron. Before we move to cast iron, though, here are two more important materials. Aluminum. That's really important for us to discuss. Aluminum has been used in cookware for decades because it's lightweight, inexpensive, and an excellent conductor of heat. Food cooks quickly and evenly, and that explains its popularity too. However, there are some concerns worth understanding. Aluminum is a reactive metal. When uncoated aluminum comes into contact with acidic foods, such as tomatoes, citrus fruits, or vinegar-based sauces, small amounts of aluminum can dissolve into the food. The older, scratched, or pitted the cookware becomes, the greater that transfer can be. Here's another little-known fact. Although our bodies eliminate much of the aluminum we're exposed to, a small amount can accumulate in tissues over time. Researchers have found aluminum in bone and brain tissue, and scientists have investigated whether long-term exposure may contribute to certain neurological conditions. The evidence has not established a direct cause of disorder, such as Alzheimer's disease, as many of us say, yet many researchers agree that minimizing unnecessary aluminum exposure is a sensible precaution, particularly as we grow older. We don't have to wait for somebody to tell us for sure that this is what's happening. We want to be proactive. For that reason, I generally recommend limiting the use of uncoated aluminum cookware. In fact, I don't use it at all myself. We'll devote an entire future conversation to aluminum because there is much more to discuss, including aluminum foil, food additives containing aluminum, personal care products like deodorant, medications, and other practical ways to reduce unnecessary exposure. Now we get to ceramic cookware. Quality ceramic cooking surfaces are generally free of traditional PFAS non-stick coatings. They clean easily, and they require less oil for cooking. What are PFAS? PFAS stands for per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances. They are a large family of thousands of human-made chemicals developed because they resist heat, water, grease, and stains. Those properties made them useful in products such as non-stick cookware, stain-resistant fabrics, food packaging, firefighting foams, and many industrial applications. Here's the concern. PFAS break down extremely slowly in both the environment and the human body. That's why they often are referred to as forever chemicals. Depending on the specific compound, some PFAS can remain in the body for years before they are gradually eliminated. Research continues to investigate the long-term health effects of PFAS exposure, and certain PFAS have been associated with changes in cholesterol levels, defense function, liver health, thyroid function, and other biological processes. Scientists are still studying many of the newer PFAS compounds to better understand the potential health effects. Now, for me, the takeaway is simple. If there are practical ways to reduce unnecessary exposure without making life complicated, then those choices are worth considering. Many people like ceramic because it offers a naturally smooth coating experience without relying on the older fluoropolymer coatings. However, there are a few things to keep in mind even here. Not all ceramic cookware is created equal either. Some products are made entirely from ceramic, while others are metal pans coated with a ceramic-based finish, and that coating can gradually wear with repeated use, especially if exposed to very high heat or cleaned with abrasive utensils. Here's another little-known fact. The lifespan of a ceramic-coated pan is often much shorter than many people expect. Even though the coating may look intact, its non-stick performance can gradually diminish over time. When you're purchasing your ceramic cookware, choose reputable manufacturers that clearly state their products are free of lead and cadmium in the cooking surface and glazes, and follow the manufacturer's recommendations regarding heat and utensils. Ceramic can be an excellent choice, but like every metal we've discussed today, quality and proper care make all the difference. For my own kitchen, I prefer cookware that has already demonstrated its durability over the generations, and that's one reason I keep coming back to cast iron. Some people avoid it because it's heavy. It can be very heavy depending on the size of the pot or pan. Some people feel that it's difficult to maintain or impossible to cook with unless you're an experienced chef. None of that has been my experience. Once properly seasoned, cast iron develops a beautiful, naturally non-stick coating surface without relying on a synthetic coating. Actually, it's a cooking surface, not a coating surface. It distributes heat beautifully. It retains that heat exceptionally well, and with proper care, it can easily last for generations. Some of you probably remember that heavy black skillet your mother or grandmother used decades ago. Those weren't disposable pans. They became family heirlooms, passed from one generation to the next. And there's a reason why so many of those skillets are still cooking today. They were built to last. The secret behind cast iron is seasoning. Now, this is one of the biggest misconceptions about cast iron first, before we get to this, what seasoning really is. People often think seasoning means adding spices or flavors to the pan. Not at all. Seasoning is the process of creating a natural protective coating on the surface of raw cast iron or even carbon steel. This coating not only helps prevent rust, it also creates the beautiful, naturally nonstick cookware surface that we've been talking about. Now, here's the fascinating science behind it. When a very thin layer of oil is heated to a high temperature, it doesn't simply dry. The heat transforms the oil through a process called polymerization. During this process, the oil molecules bond together and attach themselves to the microscopic pores in the iron, forming a hard, durable layer that becomes part of the pan itself. And this isn't a synthetic coating sprayed on in a factory. It isn't paint, and it definitely isn't plastic. It's a naturally formed cooking surface created by that heat, oil, and time. Here's another little known fact. A cast iron skillet isn't perfectly smooth. When it's viewed under a microscope, you can see that the surface contains tiny peaks, valleys, and pores. As layer after layer of seasoning develops, those microscopic irregularities gradually fill in, creating a smoother cooking surface with each use. That's why an old, well-seasoned cast iron skillet often performs better than a brand new one. Some of those skillets have been cooking family meals for 50, 75, or even 100 years. Every properly seasoned meal made the next meal a little better. And now we're not talking about seasoning the food, obviously, seasoning the pan. Now, let me show you exactly how to create that natural cooking surface so your skillet can become one of the healthiest and most dependable tools in your kitchen. Building the seasoning. I learned this the hard way. When I bought my first cast iron skillet, I washed it, left a little water in the bottom, and thought nothing of it. The next morning, it was rusty. Rust had begun forming. And that's one mistake that taught me to pay attention to what I had heard. Because, I remember hearing from family members and maybe even my mother that you should always wipe the pan out and not wash it with water and leave it. Anyway, I learned that lesson. Good cast iron rewards good habits. Once the skillet is completely dry, it's time to apply the oil. And this is where many people make the biggest mistake. They use far too much oil. For seasoning, you choose an oil with a high smoke point, such as avocado oil or grapeseed oil. These oils tolerate the temperatures needed to create a strong, durable seasoning. Place a very small amount of oil on the skillet, less than you think you'll need. Use a lint-free cloth or paper towel. Rub the oil over every surface, over the cooking surface, the sides, the bottom, the handle. Every exposed piece of iron should receive a very thin coating. Now comes the most important step. Wipe almost all of it off. Then wipe it again. If the skillet looks shiny or greasy, there's still too much oil on it. This surprises most people. The goal isn't to leave a visible coating of oil. The goal is to leave an extremely thin molecular layer on the iron. And that thin layer polymerizes more evenly, creating a harder, smoother, and more durable seasoning than a thick coating ever could. And I tell you, I've made that mistake. You can see in the pans that I showed you here that it's too shiny. Here's another little known fact. Many sticky cast iron skillets aren't sticky because they weren't seasoned enough. They're sticky because too much oil was left on the pan before it went into the oven. Excess oil doesn't fully polymerize. Instead, it creates a soft, gummy surface that attracts food instead of releasing it. So remember this simple rule. Thin coats build strong seasoning. Thick coats create problems. Now place the skillet upside down in a preheated 350-degree Fahrenheit oven. Put a baking sheet or place a sheet of aluminum foil, which I don't use, but whatever kind of sheet you have, on the rack below to catch any tiny drips. Bake it for 1 hour. Then turn the oven off and allow the skillet to cool slowly inside the oven. During that hour, chemistry is doing the work. The heat transforms that microscopic layer of oil into the durable cooking surface that has made cast iron a trusted kitchen companion for generations. Family, today wasn't simply about cookware. It was about making one more decision that supports your long-term health. As we said before, we know we can't eliminate every environmental toxin. That's simply not realistic. What we can do is reduce unnecessary exposures one thoughtful choice at a time. Choose safer food storage and choose better cookware. Preparing food with care. Those decisions may seem small, and they are small, really. However, over the years, they become part of the foundation of better health. And here's my challenge for you this week. Replace at least one pan. If you're cooking with a scratched, chipped, or worn non-stick skillet, consider replacing it with quality glass cookware, food-grade stainless steel, or my favorite, a well-seasoned cast iron skillet that could easily last for generations. Then come back and let me know what you choose. If you already cook with cast iron, share your favorite recipe or your best seasoning tip. One comment from you may help someone else gain the confidence to make the change. Remember, you're not a helpless victim. Your health is in your hands. Every healthy choice you make is another investment in your future. Prepare your life and health for the unexpected. Today we looked at what heat can do to cookware. In our next conversation, you're going to see what excessive heat can do to food and ultimately to your body. You'll learn how high temperature frying, grilling, and broiling produce compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These compounds have been associated with oxidative stress, inflammation, and many of the changes that we often blame on aging and even cancer. Here's what I think you'll find especially interesting. When food sits in a hot frying pan long enough to become deeply browned or charred, heat is driving chemical reactions that change the food itself, not just the cookware. Those same types of heat-driven reactions can also occur within our own tissues over time. And that's one reason glycation is often described as one of the biochemical hallmarks of aging. And of course, we'll look at the science behind it, what it may mean for your skin, your joints, blood vessels, your eyes, your brain, and nervous system, and most importantly, how you can dramatically reduce your exposure without sacrificing the foods you love. I think you'll be surprised by what you learn. Until next time, live well, stay curious, keep building your new life one healthy choice at a time. Peace.